All righty, everyone. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. This is day number 9 of our How to Make Your Medical Exercise Training Practice Referral Ready in 30 Days. So thank you for joining us today. I'm going to put an item in the chat here, please. And let's see if I can paste this guy in. There's a link there. Today, we're going to talk about the idea of having a client progress report or session log. So I've just put that in the chat. Please, if you would, click that link, follow that link. It will allow you to enter your information, your name, your email address, and a phone number, and you'll be able to download the form we're going to talk about today. So please, if you would, do that. And I've got 11:02 here, Central Time, and now I've got 11:03. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, good morning, and welcome to How to Make Your Medical Exercise Training Practice Referral Ready in 30 Days. My name is Dr. Michael Jones. We've been doing this now for 31 years, and what we've been doing is offering certifications and training with education to fitness professionals that want to transition and start providing medical exercise training services to clients with medical conditions. Please, if you would understand, this is not to take the place of physical therapy, chiropractic care, occupational therapy, but we all know insurance carriers have cut back significantly on the benefits, particularly the physical therapy and occupational and chiropractic benefits that they've allowed members in past years. So with that, these clients are coming out of physical therapy earlier. They have more comorbidities because we're seeing more chronic conditions that are going on now. And as a result of that, we're seeing significant changes. So with that being said, we wanted to put together a 30-day challenge to help you, the medical exercise professional, learn how to not just simply receive referrals, but be able to manage those referrals. So we're on day 9 of our program. Please, if you would go over to crackingthecode.net, you'll be able to see recordings from our previous sessions. We have a couple more that'll go up this afternoon. And please, if you would, make sure you continually check out there because we're going to look at day 10 on Friday of this week, and then day 11 will be early next week. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Talk about day number 9. All right. Today, we're going to talk about develop a client progress log or session log, whichever one you want to call it. Now, I'm going to do one thing here. Let me see if I can get back here into the chat. And I am going to put a link here in the chat. I put this in earlier. I'll put it in again. There's a link there so that you can download the client progress and session log that we're talking about. So please, if you would, click that link. We just put in the chat. For those of you that are watching the recording at a later date, look down below. You'll be able to see where that link there, and you'll be able to download a one-page session log. Now, please, if you would, make a note. It is one page. This client session log is a log that you will use to record what went on in the session. Now, folks, let me make sure you understand. If you don't document it, it did not occur in a medical exercise training situation. If you don't document it, it did not occur. It must be documented. Key thing here today is we're going to talk about the idea of developing a client progress log or session log so you can know what was done in each session, what was recorded, and then also keep a record of that in a HIPAA compliant manner or environment. So with that, let's continue on. Please, if you would, download the log, the session log, and if you would also, let's talk about quickly our scope of practice. We would be remiss if I did not talk about this, but we need to make sure that everyone understands the scope of practice for the medical exercise professional. Providing medical exercise services to the client with a medical condition include the following: MET assessment, along with that, cardiovascular training, along with that, flexibility training, along with that, strength training, functional conditioning, which is taking cardiovascular, flexibility, and strength training, mixing and matching them together so that the program is specifically designed to meet the functional needs that the client has in their daily activities, whether they're home-based, work-based, or recreational-based. Balance training, lifestyle education, aquatic training, and stabilization training. These are all within your scope of practice. Now, if you have a license as a massage therapist or a chiropractor or a dietitian, your licensing allows you to go beyond this scope of practice. But please understand, medical exercise training does not provide any therapy. You do not have patients, and you are not a therapist of any kind, not even an exercise therapist. That term in some jurisdictions here in the United States, as well as Canada, is illegal for you to use. The term therapy and therapist sometimes are protected by state and provincial statutes. So please, let's make sure we stay within the scope of practice. And please, again, remember that we have a couple of manuals we highly recommend that go along with this program. Our Cracking the Code, the ultimate guide for medical exercise specialists for insurance reimbursement. It takes you step by step through the whole process of insurance reimbursement. If you're going to deal with that, which I think more of you will start to do over the next 5 years, I would highly recommend you get that. It is the only text that is available on the subject of insurance reimbursement for medical exercise professionals. And then also our advanced medical exercise specialist manual. That manual, I'd recommend every medical exercise and medical fitness corrective exercise specialist have a copy of that. Everything we've learned over the last 31 years, teaching medical exercise specialists, helping them build their practices and establishing guidelines, protocols, and procedures, we put into that manual. We bundle those two together as a digital product that you can get for $199. Go over to crackingthecode.net. And with that, let's talk about this client progress or session log. Now, I included both here. It really is a client session log because you're noting what happened with the client in the session, but you can note progression or progress that the client may have by just simply noting what you saw maybe last session compared to what you're seeing the current session. So this actually is a little bit of both, but probably the better term would be a client session log. Again, please remember, if you don't document it, it didn't happen. And you're documenting for a number of reasons. You're documenting, number one, to protect yourself. If there's ever a dispute down the road as to what was done in the session, or did you see the client, or did you injure the client, or did they have any problems, you have a written record. And please, if you would, make sure you complete these session logs within 24 to 48 hours of the session, because when you start going down the road a week, 2 weeks, and you're backdating stuff, and that happens to pop up, if there is a legal situation, that's going to actually work against you. So try to get these things done within the first 24, 48 hours. I even give you 72 hours, but try to complete these session logs, and you'll see from the download, it's a very, very simple process. Now, what we've done here, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to drop the link in the chat just to make sure everybody has it. All right. And again, if you're watching this at a later date, look down below. You should see the link where you can download the session log. It is one page. And if you ever have to send this to a doctor, therapist, chiropractor, insurance carriers, it's one page. You don't need a novel. They don't want to need more in peace. They just want to know what's going on, what's happening with my client, succinct, to the point. There you go. So make sure you download it. And now let's talk about this guy a little bit. If you take a look at the form, again, make sure you download it. Take a look at the form. At the top, you're able to identify the client's name, their diagnosis, the session date, the referral source, the date of the first session. When was the first time they saw you? And also you're able to put in your name, the MedX Pro. Now, all of this information you should have gathered from the client when you did the initial intake weeks ago, months ago, or a couple of days ago. But now what's happening is you're going to draw on that information. So now you can put it here on this form. And this should actually be in the client's file, all of this demographic information at the top of the page. Next section looks at session goals. And I went a step farther, made it a little bit more, spice it up a little bit. We put functional session goals. Folks, please remember, medical exercise training is beyond personal training. Personal training is about aesthetics, losing weight, feeling better, being fit, healthy, all that kind of stuff. Great, no problem. But medical exercise training now is the client has a functional deficit that is still lingering. And with that deficit, it's a residual deficit left over after physical therapy, chiropractic care, medical care. So now that deficit is causing a loss in functional capability. So guess what you're going to do? You're now going to look at this client, assess them, determine their functional deficits, and then determine how those functional deficits are affecting their ability to perform their daily activities. Now, you're going to put together a set of goals that you develop after the assessment is done. Those are your goals for the program, but you need to also have functional goals for every session, at least one goal per session. And you'll notice here on the form, we give you the option to have up to 3. You don't have to have 3. You could just simply have 1. You can have 2. You can have 3. And if necessary, you could have even more. But we find when you start getting past 3, the session gets a little bit frazzled, for lack of a better phrase. So please, if you would, make sure you note the goals for the session. The goal could be just to simply teach the client to find neutral. Another goal could be to get the client to actually continually cycle. If the client has limited endurance or some type of dysfunction, maybe the goal is to continually ride the bicycle for 10 minutes, or to walk a certain distance, or to achieve a certain balance score. So make sure the goals are functional in nature, meaning that you can measure them and determine if the client got better today compared to yesterday. Next item there, you will see session activities and exercises. Now, we give you 5 slots here. Now, you can certainly add more, but we give you 5 lines here to note the exercise activity, the intensity of that activity, the sets and reps, and any comments. Comments would include if the client was able to tolerate the activity well, if they were only able to get through 1 set of 10, if they had any discomfort, or they showed significant improvement with their ability to perform the activity. So we give you a listing here of 5 separate exercises or activities. You can certainly add more. So that allows you to know what was done during the session. In the section here where it says comments, you can note if the client had any difficulty with an activity or, again, showed significant improvement. Next on the list, changes in functional outcome measures. Now, let's talk about functional outcome measures, FOMs. Functional outcome measures are universal measures and values that are utilized in the medical community, but also understood in the fitness industry and even to the insurance carriers. Things like heart rate, blood pressure, bone density, flexibility, range of motion, things where you actually give a value with regard to the person's performance. Now, I know for many of you in the fitness industry, the tendency is, oh, the client feels better. They have less pain. They have more energy. Well, less pain, we can actually use a pain scale, but we want to be able to objectively measure the client's improvement, especially if you ever have to deal with a physician and or an insurance carrier. So with this section, we want you to note changes in blood pressure, heart rate, range of motion, strength, and function. We give you 3 areas here to note any significant changes or improvement. If you see an improvement in strength or improvement in flexibility, or you use one of our functional assessment scales and the client shows an improvement with their score on the functional assessment scale, you would note it here. So this document is allowing you to know what you're seeing, what you're observing objectively during that session. So make sure you note functional outcome measures. Now, I'll ask you to do this. Go to postrehab.com, go to our blog there, and if you would type in functional outcome measures. We have a number of articles that we've published over the years that look at functional outcome measures. These folks, for those of you that are truly looking to grow your medical exercise training practice, this is the language, these are the guidelines, these are the values that you must use moving forward to communicate effectively with doctors, therapists, chiropractors, and insurance carriers. Also, our manual, the Advanced Medical Exercise Specialist Manual, has an extensive section looking at functional outcome measures. That leads us to our next, let me say one more thing here. Notice with functional outcome measures, there's no changes in BP heart rate. Please, if you would make a note. As a medical exercise professional, if you have a new client coming in the door, it is mandatory. It is mandatory. You check blood pressure, heart rate in that new client. If the client tells you they're hypertensive, every session they come in, you should check their blood pressure and heart rate before they start. Now, folks, I had a doctor's appointment yesterday. I am a healthy, at least I think I'm a healthy 63 years old. Well, I went to the doctor yesterday, my blood pressure was up. Wow. Bonehead myself, guess what? I got to take my blood pressure medication that morning. So I looked apparently healthy. Actually, I was dressed up because I was going to have lunch with my wife that day. And the nurse came in, she checked my blood pressure, went back out, checked it again. She said, you look really nice, but you got high blood pressure. So please, if you would make a note, you can't tell the person that has hypertension. And with that, you are the first line and last line of defense in our healthcare system, folks. How many of you have picked up something with a client that you said, you need to go to the doctor about that, and they called you back a couple of days later and said, thank you, that saved my life? Well, the opposite is true too. You have to be the preventative person in the community that checks heart rate and blood pressure, because vital signs tell us, they give us an idea of the homeostasis of the body. So please, if you would, if nothing else you remember from this session, check heart rate, blood pressure. And let me say one other thing. I know the first thing you can do, we're going to get an automatic blood pressure cuff. Make sure you know how to take that heart rate and blood pressure using a sphygmomanometer and a stethoscope, where you put it in your ears, you wrap the cuff around the bicep, and you're able to take that blood pressure yourself. That is the truly accurate manner of checking blood pressure. Make sure you're able to do that. Now, after the first 2 or 3 sessions, the client comes in, then you can use the automatic cuff. And instead of going down to Walmart and getting the cheapie for 20 bucks, invest some money, get the higher grade automatic blood pressure cuff, because the higher grade means more accuracy. You'll be surprised how inaccurate those automatic blood pressure cuffs are. So with that said, let's continue on. And also, next section, future session plan and recommendations. Notice it says plan for next session and recommendations. So folks, you're the exercise expert, not the doctor, not the therapist, not the chiropractor, not the internist, not the neurologist, not the orthopedic surgeon. And you're working with this client on an ongoing basis. You're seeing what's going on with the exercise. So please remember, the medical provider has referred the client to you because they think it's a good management tool for improving this client's overall health. So they want to hear feedback from you. So note your feedback and your recommendations and your plan here. What do you plan on doing next session? Are you going to work more on balance? Are you going to work more on stabilization of the shoulder blade? Are you going to work more on endurance? Are you going to work more on flexibility? And any recommendations? You may recommend the client now attend a Pilates class or yoga class, or maybe you recommend the client see a massage therapist, or you recommend maybe they see a dietitian. Note it here, but also where you're referring the client out for additional services, such as a dietitian or maybe Pilates, check with the doctor, therapist, or chiropractor to let them know, because you're part of that management team now. So again, first section, identify the client. Next section, make sure you note functional goals for the session. It could be up to 3. Next section, note the session activities and exercises, and please include the name of the activity, the intensity, sets, reps, and any comments, which means what actually occurred during the session. Next, note functional outcome measure changes that occurred during that session. And this means you have to check heart rate, blood pressure, as well as looking at other values, range of motion, strength, flexibility, those things. And also make sure you include a plan for the next session. 1-page document. Look, 1 page. And please, if you would, make sure you go over and you download it. It's 1 page. Now, you could do this digitally. We have this as a Word document. You could save it. I'm sorry, it's a PDF document, excuse me. You could save it, figure it out that way if you like. But make sure you protect these documents following HIPAA guidelines so that no one else is able to access this client's vital information. And with that said, make sure you go over and you're able to download our session guide. I'm going to do this one more time. Let me see if I can put this in the chat again. And there's the link going into the chat. If you are watching this after the live session is concluded, please look down below and make sure you're able to download or click the link for the session guide. You'll be able to download it there. We're simply going to ask you for your name, your email address, and your phone number. All right. And with that said, this is sponsored by our Medical Exercise Specialist Network. We're looking at launching a new version of the network sometime toward the end of May. We were looking at May 22nd. That'll probably be closer to May 29th. We got a lot of things that are going on. And this is a community for medical exercise professionals. It's not a community to give you more certifications. It's a community designed to give you the skills, the knowledge, and the necessary information to build a strong medical exercise practice, communicate with the medical community, deal with insurance carriers, but most importantly, a community where you can get support from like-minded individuals. Now, one last thing, I know we're trying to make the transition and making your practice referral ready. Sometimes putting all these pieces together can be difficult. And folks, we've been doing this now for 31 years. So we have our MedX Pro Jumpstart Coaching. This is our basic package. It is a one-time session. It is a 90-minute coaching session. You'll do the session with me, folks, so it's probably going to end up being closer to 2 hours. You will get a copy of our MES manual, a digital copy. You'll get a copy of our Cracking the Code manual. So you'll have those two to reference as we go through the coaching session and also do the follow-ups with it. You'll also get our essential MET skills, MET forms kit, not skills kit. It'll have 10 personalized forms, like a referral form, a session log form. We'll put your logo and your contact information on the forms. You also get our communication templates. These are templates that we put together that allow you and show you how to start a communication, what to say to a doctor, therapist, or chiropractor with the phone introduction, letters, things of that nature. You also get access to our MES Jumpstart program, which is an online training. It's 6 sessions that goes in depth into starting your medical exercise training practice or refining it and improving it. And you also get membership, a 3-month membership to our new MES network when it launches later on this month. Again, we put all this together for only $299. Think about it. If you get one referral from a local medical provider as a result of going through the Jumpstart program, you get one referral and the client comes in twice a week for, say, 3 months. That's what? Twice a week for 4 weeks is 8 sessions. So we're looking at 24 sessions. Let's say you're charging $50 per session, which is low on the low end for medical exercise training. You've made that money back and hand over foot, and you're probably going to get more referrals. So you might want to check out our MedX Pro Jumpstart coaching program. Go over to crackingthecode.net. The special offer is there. Click the link and get registered. And with that, please come back and see us again. We'll be here on Friday. And these Cracking the Code webinars are designed for helping you build your practice. So it's practice building tips. So please join us again on Friday at 12 noon Eastern, 11 o'clock here Central, 10 Mountain, 9 out on the West Coast. And all of these sessions are recorded. This should be available to you sometime tomorrow. So with that, thank you for joining us. I will see you on Friday. If you have any questions for me, email me at drmike@postrehab.com. And if you're watching this via video, look down below so you can actually click the link and get the forms. Stay safe, stay healthy. We will see you on Friday. Take care.